The words hang in the air between us, crystalline and sharp, like shards of glass. You just need to accept it, Clara. Mark doesn't even look at me. He's staring at the stainless steel refrigerator, at his own distorted reflection, as if admiring the man who could say something so monstrous with such casual indifference. It's just what men do. It doesn't mean anything. The hum of the fridge is the only sound in our cavernous, white kitchen. It feels like the whole house is holding its breath, waiting for me to shatter. My own breath is a knot in my throat. I can feel the blood draining from my face, a cold tide pulling away from my skin. My hands, resting on the marble island, feel like they belong to someone else. I look down at them, at the simple gold band on my finger. It feels impossibly heavy, a dead weight. Accept it. The words echo. Accept that the last 15 years of my life, the life we built from nothing in a dusty garage with borrowed computers and a shared dream, have been a lie. Accept that the woman he's sleeping with, the one he promoted to senior strategist over people with twice her experience, is now a permanent fixture in our lives. A feature, not a bug. He finally turns to look at me, and his eyes are flat, devoid of pity, or love, or even anger. There is just nothing. An empty space where my husband used to be. It's this, or we're done, he says, his voice perfectly even. I'm not giving her up. So you can either be pragmatic about this, or you can leave. Your choice. He picks up his keys from the counter, the little metal teeth jangling a death knell for our marriage. He thinks he's cornered me. He thinks I'm the timid girl he married, the one who organized his files and made his coffee while he took the credit for the big ideas that were born in the quiet hours of my own mind. He thinks my name on the company masthead is a courtesy, a relic of a past he's long since outgrown. He sees the tears welling in my eyes and mistakes them for surrender. He doesn't see the ice forming behind them. He doesn't see the gears turning, the cold, hard calculus of survival clicking into place. He thinks he's giving me an ultimatum. He has no idea he's just handed me a declaration of war. He walks out the door, and the lock clicks shut behind him, sealing me into the beautiful, empty tomb he built for me. And in the silence, a single, terrifying thought rises to the surface.
He's right.
It is my choice. If you've ever had your world turned upside down by a single sentence, tell me about it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're new here, please subscribe. It means more than you know. Our story didn't begin in this cold, sterile monument to success. It began with the smell of sawdust and cheap coffee. It began in my parents' garage, a cramped space filled with old furniture and forgotten dreams. We were 22, armed with a second-hand computer, a whiteboard covered in frantic scribbles, and a belief that we could build something that mattered. Mark was the face. He had the charisma, the easy smile, the talent for making people believe in the impossible. I was the engine. I was the one who wrote the code, designed the architecture, and spent sleepless nights debugging a system that everyone said was too ambitious. He would talk about changing the world. I would stay up until 4 a.m. actually building the tools to do it. I remember one night, we were running on fumes, staring at a mountain of code that just wouldn't compile. We'd been at it for 36 hours straight. Mark slumped back in his chair, defeated. It's no use, he sighed, rubbing his eyes. This is junk. We should just scrap it. I looked at the screen, at the thousands of lines of code I had poured my soul into. I could feel the solution, hovering just at the edge of my consciousness. No, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Go get some sleep. I've got this, he looked at me, a flicker of doubt in his eyes, but he was too tired to argue. He stumbled off to the small cot we kept in the corner, and I turned back to the screen. The garage was cold, the only light coming from the monitor's glow. For the next 6 hours I worked. I traced every line, every variable, every function call. It was like untangling 1,000 tiny knots. And then I saw it. A single misplaced semicolon. A tiny, insignificant error that was causing a catastrophic failure. My fingers flew across the keyboard. I fixed it, held my breath, and hit compile. The progress bar filled. Green text flooded the screen. Success. I didn't wake him. I just sat there, in the pre-dawn stillness, a feeling of pure, unadulterated triumph washing over me. That was our dynamic. He was the thunder, and I was the lightning. He made the noise, but I was the one who held the power. We were a team. We celebrated our first contract, a meager $5,000, with a bottle of cheap champagne, drinking it straight from the bottle, sitting on the dusty floor of that garage. He pulled me close, his eyes shining with a sincerity I hadn't seen in years. "We did it, Clara," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion.
No, you did it.
"I'd be nothing without you." I believed him. I believed in us. As the company grew, we moved from the garage to a small, cramped office, then to a bigger one, and finally, to the sleek, glass and steel tower we occupy now. With every step up, my role seemed to shrink. I became head of product development, a fancy title that meant I was still the engine, but now I was hidden away in the basement while Mark stood on the gleaming deck, steering the ship. He was the CEO, the visionary. I was the quiet, reliable wife in the background. The company, Innovate Dynamics, was my brainchild. The core algorithm, the one that made us millions, was something I designed on a napkin during a particularly boring college lecture. But in interviews, Mark would tell the story of how the idea came to him in a flash of inspiration while hiking. He told it so many times, I think he started to believe it himself. Our home life mirrored our work life. I managed the house, the finances, the social calendar. I made sure his life was a smooth, frictionless machine, so he could focus on being brilliant. I told myself it was a partnership. I told myself my contribution was valued, even if it wasn't visible. I was the foundation of the skyscraper he was building, and foundations are meant to be unseen. The cracks started small. A late night at the office that didn't quite add up. A sudden obsession with his phone, which he now guarded like a state secret. A new scent on his shirts, a perfume that wasn't mine. I ignored it. I buried the suspicion under a mountain of denial. We were Mark and Clara, the power couple, the garage to riches fairy tale. Fairy tales don't end in sordid, cliché affairs. The woman's name is Amelia. She started as an intern, bright-eyed and ambitious. I remember her interview. She was smart, but her resume was thin. I had reservations, but Mark pushed for her. "She's got fire, Clara," he'd said. I like that. He became her mentor. He took her to client meetings, to conferences. He would talk about her fresh perspective, her raw talent. I watched as he molded her, shaped her into a younger, more compliant version of me. He gave her the projects that should have been mine, the opportunities to shine that he no longer offered me. I saw it happening, but I couldn't articulate the wrongness of it without sounding like a jealous, insecure wife. And so I stayed silent. The night I found out for certain, it wasn't through a text message or a lipstick-stained collar. It was colder, more corporate. I was reviewing the company credit card statements, a task I still handled out of habit.
And there it was.
A charge for $2,000 at a boutique hotel downtown. The Rosewood, on a night he was supposedly on a red-eye flight to a conference in Chicago. Billed under client entertainment, beneath it, a charge from a high-end lingerie store. I felt the floor drop out from under me. It wasn't just the betrayal of our marriage. It was the insult of him using our company, my company, to fund it. He was stealing from me to sleep with her. That was the first time I felt the shift, the first hairline fracture in the foundation of love and trust. It was the moment the quiet, supportive wife began to die, and someone else, someone colder and more calculating, started to wake up. I confronted him the next morning. I laid the credit card statement on the marble island between us, a black and white testament to his lies. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. My voice was eerily calm. "Explain this, Mark." He looked at the statement, then at me. For a moment, a flicker of panic crossed his face. Then it was gone, replaced by a mask of annoyance. He sighed, a long, weary sound, as if I were a tiresome problem he had to solve. "Clara, don't be dramatic. That was the beginning of the end." He didn't deny it. He didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. He minimized, he deflected, he gaslight. It was a business expense, a misunderstanding. I was being hysterical, overreacting. He wore me down until I was exhausted, until my own certainty began to feel like paranoia. But I knew. And he knew that I knew. The unspoken truth festered between us, poisoning the air in our beautiful home. And that's what led us here, to this moment, a few weeks later, to his final, brutal ultimatum. Accept it or leave. He thinks he's won. He thinks he's holding all the cards. But as the silence of the empty house presses in on me, I look down at my hands again. They are no longer shaking. They are perfectly still. These are the hands that built an empire from a single line of code. And he has forgotten what they are capable of. The first few days are a blur of hollow-eyed shock. I move through our house like a ghost, the silence screaming louder than any argument ever could. Every object is a memory, every room a stage for a life that is no longer mine. I pick up a framed photo from the mantelpiece. Us, 10 years ago, on the day we signed the lease for our first real office. We look so young, so full of hope. Mark's arm is wrapped tightly around me, his smile genuine. I trace the outline of his face with my finger, trying to find a trace of the man he is now and the boy he was then. I find nothing. It's like looking at a stranger. I try to work, but the office feels like enemy territory. Amelia is everywhere. She walks with a new confidence, a proprietary air, as if she's already the queen of this castle. She calls Mark M in meetings, a casual intimacy that makes my stomach clench. People watch me. I can feel their eyes on my back, a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. They whisper in the hallways, their voices dropping when I approach. I am no longer the co-founder. I am the CEO's unstable wife. The problem to be managed. Mark treats me with a chilling politeness. He calls it being professional. He'll ask for my input in a meeting, but his eyes are vacant, already dismissing whatever I have to say. He's performing for the board, for the senior staff, creating a narrative where he is the patient, long-suffering husband, and I am the emotional wreck dragging the company down. He's erasing me, one polite, dismissive gesture at a time. I try to fight back, but my attempts are clumsy, fueled by a grief so profound it chokes me. I try to talk to him one night, cornering him in his study. I want to appeal to the man I married, the man who held me when I was sick, the man who once called me his everything. Mark, please, I begin, my voice trembling. Don't do this to us. To everything we built. He doesn't look up from his laptop. Clara, I thought we were clear. The decision is yours. I'm not changing my mind, but why? The question is a raw, ragged whisper. Was I not enough? Was 15 years of my life not enough? He finally looks up, and his expression is one of pure, unadulterated boredom. This isn't about you, he says, as if that's supposed to be a comfort. It's just what happened. People change. You need to be an adult about this, an adult. The condescension is a slap in the face. I spend my nights alone in our king-sized bed, the space beside me cold and vast. Sleep is a luxury I can no longer afford. My mind races, replaying every moment, every lie, searching for the point where it all went wrong. Was I too focused on the company? Did I let myself go? The insidious voice of self-doubt, the one he's so carefully planted, takes root in the dark. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am the problem. I try therapy. I sit on a plush sofa in a quiet, sunlit room, talking to a kind-faced woman who nods and says, I see. I tell her everything. The garage, the dreams, the betrayal. I tell her about the emptiness, the feeling of being invisible. She listens patiently, and then she asks a simple question. What do you want, Clara?
I sætter her.
The question seems impossibly large. For 15 years, what I wanted was so intertwined with what we wanted that I can no longer tell the difference. I want my husband back, I say, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. I want my life back. She gives me a gentle, sad smile. But is that life still there to go back to? Her question hangs in the air, and for the first time, I allow myself to consider the terrifying answer.
No.
It's not. The man I married is gone. The life we built is a ruin. I am clinging to a ghost. The realization doesn't bring peace. It brings a fresh wave of despair, so deep and so dark, I feel like I'm drowning in it. The struggle is no longer about saving my marriage. It's about saving myself. The professional and the personal bleed into a single, festering wound. Mark accelerates his campaign to sideline me at the company. It's subtle at first. A meeting I'm not invited to. A decision made without my consultation. He frames it as efficiency. I just handled it, Clara. No need for you to worry about it. He starts grooming Amelia, not just as his mistress, but as my replacement. He gives her oversight of the new product launch, a project that was born from my research, my late-night brainstorming sessions. In a team meeting, he presents my initial framework as a rough draft that Amelia has brilliantly refined. I watch her stand at the front of the conference room, using my slides, my data, my words, and I feel a rage so cold and sharp it takes my breath away. She glances at me, a flicker of triumph in her eyes, before turning back to the room, her voice confident and smooth. She is a parrot, repeating the words I wrote, and they are all applauding her for it. The team is confused. The older employees, the ones who were with us in the early days, look at me with concern. They know my value. They know this new dynamic is wrong. But they are also afraid. Mark is the CEO. His power is absolute. To side with me is to risk their careers. The newer, younger employees, the ones Amelia hired, see me as a relic. The founder's wife who won't let go. A ghost haunting the hallways. My attempts to assert myself are met with a wall of polite resistance. I try to take back control of my project. Amelia, I'd like to see the latest progress reports, I say, keeping my voice level and professional. She gives me a sweet, patronizing smile. Of course, Clara. I'll have them sent over. Mark and I just made a few executive decisions to streamline the process. I think you'll be pleased with the new direction, Mark and I. She wields his name like a weapon, a shield that makes her untouchable. I go to Mark's office, the anger finally boiling over. I close the door behind me. You are systematically cutting me out of my own company, I say, my voice low and shaking with fury. This project is mine. You know it and I know it. He leans back in his expensive leather chair, the picture of calm authority. Our company, Clara. And as CEO, I have to make decisions based on what's best for the business, not on emotion. Amelia is doing an excellent job. She has a fresh energy. Frankly, your approach was getting a little stale. 15 years of innovation, of bleeding for this company, and I am stale. The cruelty of it is breathtaking. The challenges mount. He's not just sidelining me. He's actively sabotaging me. An important email from a key client goes unanswered because it was mysteriously rerouted from my inbox. A deadline I was supposed to meet is moved up without my knowledge, making me look incompetent when I miss it. It's a death by 1,000 paper cuts, and I have no way to prove that the wounds are being intentionally inflicted. My allies at the company start to distance themselves. One of my most trusted engineers, a man I mentored for years, can no longer meet my eye. He gives me terse, one-word answers, his fear palpable. Mark is poisoning the well, spreading rumors that I'm unstable, that the stress of our marital problems is affecting my judgment. He is building a case against me, not just to his employees, but to the board of directors. The house, once my sanctuary, becomes a prison. He's rarely there, and when he is, he's a stranger. We live like two ghosts haunting the same space, the silence thick with unspoken resentments. I find myself wandering through the rooms at night, touching the furniture, trying to remember what it felt like to be happy here. It feels like a lifetime ago. The financial pressure begins. He controls the money, the joint accounts, the investments. Suddenly, there are cash flow issues. He tells me we need to tighten our belts. He suggests I cut back on my personal expenses. This, from the man who spent thousands on a hotel room and lingerie for his mistress with a company credit card. It's a power play, another way to make me feel small and dependent. He wants to break me, to grind me down until I accept his new world order, until I become the quiet, compliant wife who looks the other way. He wants me to accept a life in the gilded cage he has built, content with the material comforts while he lives a double life. Every challenge, every new obstacle is a test. He is waiting for me to shatter. He is waiting for me to surrender. And there are moments in the dead of night when the loneliness is a physical weight on my chest that I am tempted to do just that. It would be so much easier to give in, to just accept the affair, to keep the house and the lifestyle and the illusion of a life. It would be easier to die a slow, quiet death of the soul than to fight this lonely, impossible war. But then I remember the garage. I remember the feeling of that successful compile at 4 a.m. I remember the woman who built this. And I know, with a certainty that cuts through the despair, that she is not dead. She is just dormant. And she is about to wake up. The turning point doesn't come with a crash of thunder, but in a moment of profound, soul-crushing quiet. I'm sitting in my home office, a room that has become more of a bunker than a creative space, staring at a letter from our lawyers. It's a formal notice of a special board meeting. The agenda item is a corporate restructuring. I don't need a law degree to understand what that means. He's making his move. He's going to use his fabricated narrative of my instability to push me out of the company I co-founded. The piece of paper trembles in my hand. This is it. The final, humiliating blow. He's not just taking my husband and my life. He's taking my legacy. Everything I have worked for, everything I have sacrificed for, is about to be stripped away and handed to his mistress on a silver platter. I feel a wave of nausea. The walls of the room seem to be closing in. I can't breathe. For the past few weeks, I've been living in a fog of grief and anger, reacting to his attacks, constantly on the defensive. I've been playing his game, and I've been losing.
Badly.
I look around the room, at the shelves filled with books on programming languages and system architecture, at the framed patent for our core algorithm hanging on the wall, my name listed second after his. I see the whiteboard in the corner, still covered in the faint ghosts of old equations, old ideas, old dreams. And something inside me snaps. It's not a loud, violent break, but a quiet, cold, definitive shift. The grief that has been drowning me for weeks doesn't disappear, but it crystallizes. It hardens into something else. Something solid. Something that feels a lot like resolve. The tears stop. The shaking stops. The woman who wanted her husband back is gone for good. In her place is a founder whose life's work is under threat. And she will not let it go without a fight. My mind, which has been a chaotic storm of emotion, suddenly becomes clear, sharp, and focused. I've been trying to appeal to his heart, to his memory, to a man who no longer exists. I've been fighting with emotion. But Mark doesn't deal in emotion. He deals in power, in leverage, in assets. And I realize, with a jolt that is almost electric, that I have been blind to my own power. He thinks my value was in the past, in the code I wrote a decade ago. He has forgotten that the same mind that built this company from scratch is still here. He has forgotten that I know every line of that code, every clause in every contract, every secret vulnerability in the fortress he has built around himself. I've been so focused on the marriage he destroyed that I forgot about the company we built. I built. He may be the CEO, but I laid the foundation. And I know exactly where all the structural weaknesses are. I get up from my chair and walk to the old filing cabinet in the corner, a relic from our garage days that I insisted on keeping. I pull open the bottom drawer, the one filled with old hard drives and dusty binders. My fingers search for a specific one, a black, three-ring binder labeled Incorporation and Bylaws, 2008. I blow a layer of dust off the cover and carry it back to my desk. I open it, the pages stiff with age. And there it is. Our original partnership agreement. The one we drafted ourselves sitting on the floor of the garage before we could afford lawyers. It's a simple document, full of youthful idealism and clauses we probably didn't fully understand at the time. But one clause, one that I insisted on, jumps out at me now. Section 4B, the Intellectual Property Clause. It states that all intellectual property developed by either co-founder prior to the official date of incorporation remains the sole property of the individual who created it. It was meant to protect us, a standard clause we copied from a textbook. But our official incorporation date was 6 months after I had already written and perfected the core algorithm. The one everything is built on. I stare at the page, my heart starting to pound, a slow, heavy drumbeat in the silent room. He's forgotten. In all his corporate maneuvering, in all his slick legal strategies, he has forgotten this simple, dusty document from our past. He thinks he owns the company. But according to the very document that created it, I own its heart. The algorithm isn't an asset of Innovate Dynamics. It's an asset of Clara Reed. And for the last 15 years, they've been using it for free. This changes everything. This is not just a shield, it's a sword. I am no longer the victim. I am no longer the hysterical wife. I am the majority stakeholder in the single most valuable piece of technology this company possesses. The fog has lifted. I see the path forward, not a path to reconciliation, but a path to reclamation. I am not going to fight him for my place in his company. I am going to build my own. And I am going to take everything that is rightfully mine with me. I close the binder. The meeting is in 2 weeks. That gives me 14 days. 14 days to dismantle the empire he thinks is his. He wanted a war. He just never imagined I would be the one to choose the battlefield. The despair that had been my constant companion is replaced by a cold, electrifying clarity. I am no longer a wife fighting for her marriage. I am a general planning a campaign. My home office becomes a war room. The first thing I do is call my lawyer, not the corporate attorney Mark has on retainer, but a shrewd, tenacious litigator named Eleanor Vance, whom I met at a Women in Tech conference years ago. I lay out the entire situation on her desk. The original partnership agreement, the IP clause, the timeline of the algorithm's creation. Eleanor's eyes, sharp and intelligent behind her glasses, light up as she reads. She looks up at me, a slow, predatory smile spreading across her face. Well, Clara, she says, her voice a low purr. It seems your husband has made a rather catastrophic error in judgment. For the next 2 weeks, we work in secret, meticulously building our case. Eleanor handles the legal strategy, drafting cease and desist letters and licensing agreements that will land on Mark's desk like a series of targeted missiles. My job is to handle the clients. This is the delicate part. I can't just call them up and tell them their CEO is a cheating, gaslighting monster who has stolen my life's work.
I have to be smarter than that.
I start with our oldest and most loyal client, a man named Arthur Fleming. Arthur's company was our first major contract, the one that moved us out of the garage. He's old school, a man who values loyalty and integrity above all else. He's always had a soft spot for me, remembering the late nights I spent personally customizing our software for his company's needs. I arrange a meeting with him under the guise of a routine strategic review. We meet at a quiet restaurant, far from the prying eyes of the financial district. I don't mention Mark. I don't mention the affair. I talk about the future. I talk about a new, more agile, more innovative version of the technology they're currently using. I paint a picture of a future where they are not just a client, but a true partner in development. Arthur listens, his brow furrowed. This is impressive, Clara. But this is a big shift. Why haven't I heard about this from Mark? I take a deep breath. This is the moment. Because, Arthur, I say, my voice steady and calm, Innovate Dynamics is about to go through a significant restructuring. The core technology that your business relies on, there's a dispute over its ownership. And I can no longer guarantee its stability or continued development under the current leadership. I let that hang in the air. I don't need to say more. Arthur is a smart man. He can read between the lines. He sees the quiet confidence in my eyes, and he knows this isn't a desperate plea from a scorned wife. This is a strategic move from a founder protecting her assets. My new venture, I continue, will be built around that core technology. It will be leaner, more focused, and dedicated entirely to partners like you. I'm not asking you to jump ship today. I'm just asking you to be prepared when the time comes. I leave him with a prospectus for my new, currently non-existent company. Clara Reed Technologies. By the time I get home, there's an email from him. Let's talk specifics. 1 down. 2 to go. The next 2 are harder. They are larger, more corporate entities. My approach has to be different. I leverage my deep, technical knowledge of their systems, knowledge Mark has long since forgotten. I send them detailed analyses of their current usage, highlighting inefficiencies and security vulnerabilities in the old system that I know Mark has been ignoring. I offer them a solution, a next-generation platform, the one I've been secretly developing in my spare time for the past year, a project Mark dismissed as a vanity hobby. I show them the data. I show them the performance benchmarks. I make a purely business case, an offer so compelling that their loyalty to Mark becomes a fiduciary liability. I am not just asking them to follow me. I am giving them an undeniable reason to do so. While I'm securing the clients, the crisis at home and work deepens. Mark is consumed with his plan to oust me. He's arrogant, blinded by his own narrative. He sees my quietness not as a sign of strategic planning, but as a sign of defeat. He becomes bolder, more blatant. He and Amelia are now inseparable at the office, a toxic power couple holding court in the kingdom they believe they've conquered. He formally freezes my access to company financials and removes me from key distribution lists. He's trying to render me deaf and blind. He doesn't realize I already have everything I need. The isolation is crushing. Friends we've had for years now give me awkward, pitying smiles. They've heard Mark's version of the story. Clara is having a breakdown. She can't accept that the marriage is over. She's trying to burn the company down out of spite. I am completely alone. There are moments of doubt, moments when the sheer scale of what I'm attempting to do feels overwhelming. I sit in my war room at 3 a.m., surrounded by legal documents and financial projections, and the weight of it all threatens to crush me. What if I'm wrong? What if this all blows up in my face, and I'm left with nothing? But then I look at the picture of that 22-year-old girl in the garage, her eyes bright with ambition, and I draw strength from her. I am not doing this for revenge. I am doing this for her. I am reclaiming the future that was stolen from us. This is my rock bottom. Alone, ostracized, fighting for my life against the man I once loved, the man who is now trying to destroy me. He thinks he has me cornered, that he's about to deliver the final, killing blow. He thinks the board meeting is his coronation. He has no idea it's his execution. And I am the one holding the axe. The morning of the board meeting, the air is thick with a strange, electric stillness. I stand in front of the full-length mirror in my bedroom, a room that has felt more like a hotel suite for the past month. I'm not wearing a power suit, not a piece of armor. I choose a simple, elegant navy blue dress. I want to look like myself. I want them to see Clara Reed, the founder, not Clara Reed, the scorned wife. My hands are steady as I fasten a simple pearl necklace. My reflection stares back at me, my eyes clear and calm. The woman I was a month ago, the one who crumpled in the kitchen, is gone. I don't know if she'll ever come back. Maybe that's for the best. I don't drive to the office. I have a car service. I want to arrive clear-headed, focused. As we pull up to the gleaming glass tower of Innovate Dynamics, I see it for what it has become, a monument to his ego, built on my foundation. I feel a pang of sadness, not for the loss of my marriage, but for the loss of our shared dream.
It was a beautiful dream.
It's a shame he had to burn it all down. I walk into the lobby, and the receptionist, a young woman Amelia hired, looks at me with a mixture of surprise and pity. Mrs. Reed, I wasn't aware you were coming in today. I'm here for the board meeting, I say, my voice cool and even. I don't wait for her to announce me. I walk past her desk and head straight for the elevators. The ride up to the 40th floor feels like an ascent into another realm. The elevator doors open onto the hushed, carpeted world of the executive suites. I can feel the tension immediately. I walk towards the main conference room, the one with the panoramic views of a city. The door is slightly ajar. I can hear Mark's voice, smooth and confident, already in the middle of his pitch. I pause outside, listening. And that's why this restructuring is essential for the future of Innovate Dynamics, he's saying. Clara has been an invaluable part of our history, but her recent emotional difficulties have become a liability. We need to move forward with a clear, unified vision. For the good of the company, the board needs to approve my motion to buy out her shares and remove her from her executive position. He's painting a masterpiece of concern and regret. The loving husband forced to make a terrible choice. I can picture him in there, his brow furrowed with fake sincerity, his hands gesturing emphatically. I can picture Amelia sitting near him, a picture of quiet support. I take a deep breath. Showtime. I push the door open and walk in. The room falls silent. Every head turns towards me. There are 8 board members sitting around the long mahogany table, their faces a mixture of shock and discomfort. And at the head of the table, Mark. His face freezes, the carefully constructed mask of concern dropping for a fraction of a second, revealing the raw fury beneath. Amelia, sitting in a chair just behind him, looks like she's seen a ghost. Clara, Mark says, recovering quickly, his voice tight. This is a closed meeting. I'm still a co-founder and a member of this board, Mark. I reply, my voice echoing slightly in the silent room. I believe I'm entitled to be here. I walk calmly to the empty seat at the far end of the table and sit down. I place my leather portfolio on the table in front of me. I don't open it yet. I let the silence stretch, forcing them to sit with their discomfort. Finally, the chairman of the board, a man named Howard Vance, clears his throat. Clara, we were just discussing your role in the company moving forward. I heard, I say, my eyes locked on Mark's. And I have a few points I'd like to add to the discussion. Mark forces a tight, condescending smile. Clara, I don't think this is the time or the place. Oh, I think it's the perfect time and place, I interrupt, my voice dangerously soft. Let's start with the company's most valuable asset, the proprietary algorithm that our entire platform is built on. The one you like to tell reporters came to you in a dream. A few of the board members shift uncomfortably. Mark's jaw tightens. What's your point, Clara? My point, I say, finally opening my portfolio and sliding a single document across the polished surface of the table toward Howard, is that according to our original partnership agreement, signed on April 12, 2008, that algorithm is not, and has never been, the property of Innovate Dynamics. A collective gasp goes through the room. Howard picks up the document, his eyes scanning it quickly. Mark is staring at me, his face pale. He looks like he's been punched in the gut. The algorithm, I continue, my voice gaining strength, was finalized in February of 2008, 2 months before the company was officially incorporated, which means it is my sole, personal, intellectual property. I let that sink in. The implications are dawning on their faces. The entire multi-million-dollar company is built on a foundation they don't own. For 15 years, I say, my gaze sweeping across the stunned faces, I have allowed this company to use my intellectual property free of charge, out of a sense of partnership and shared ownership. A partnership, it is now clear, that no longer exists. Mark finds his voice. It's a strangled, desperate sound. This is absurd. She's lying. This is a desperate attempt to. Is it, Mark? I slide a second document across the table. This is a notarized and time-stamped copy of the final source code, dated February 18, 2008. And here, I add a third, are the sworn affidavits from 3 of our original programmers, confirming that this was the version of the code we used for our initial launch. The room is dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. The fortress has been breached. But I'm not done yet. This isn't just about the company. This is about everything. The shock in the room is a physical thing, thick and suffocating. Mark is staring at the documents on the table as if they are venomous snakes. He opens his mouth, then closes it. For the first time since I've known him, he is utterly speechless. The carefully constructed world he built is crumbling around him, and he has no idea how to stop it. Howard Vance, the chairman, looks up from the papers, his face grim. He looks at me, then at Mark, then back at me. What is it you want, Clara? He asks, his voice low. This is the moment. The culmination of weeks of secret planning, of sleepless nights, of gut-wrenching pain. This is the moment I take my life back. It's not what I want, Howard, I say, my voice ringing with a clarity I haven't felt in years. It's what is going to happen. I stand up, a feeling of calm power settling over me. I am no longer the victim in this story. I am the author of its final chapter. As of 9 a.m. this morning, my attorney served Innovate Dynamics with a cease and desist order. You have 72 hours to stop using my intellectual property, which, as you all know, means shutting down your entire operation. A wave of panic ripples through the board members. Their paper empire is about to be wiped out by a single, inconvenient truth. Furthermore, I continue, my eyes locking onto Mark's, a cold fire burning in my gaze. I will be filing a lawsuit for 15 years of unauthorized use, seeking retroactive licensing fees and damages. My legal team's initial estimate places that figure at somewhere north of $80 million. The number hangs in the air, a death sentence for the company. Mark finally cracks. He slams his fist on the table, the sound making everyone jump. You can't do this, he bellows, his face a mask of purple rage. This company is mine. I built it. Did you, Mark? I ask, my voice dropping to a near whisper. Did you write the code? Did you design the architecture? Or did you just give the speeches and take the credit? I turn my attention back to the board. But I am not an unreasonable woman. I am willing to offer you a way out. A lifeline. I slide a final folder across the table. This is a proposal. I am launching a new company, Clara Reed Technologies. We will be licensing a next-generation version of the algorithm. A faster, more secure, more powerful version. I am willing to offer Innovate Dynamics a licensing agreement. Howard opens the folder, his eyes widening as he reads the terms. The price, I say, is a controlling interest in this company. 51%. And the immediate, unconditional resignation of Mark Reed as CEO and Amelia Vance as senior strategist. The plot twist lands with the force of a physical blow. I'm not just taking my IP back. I'm not just suing them into oblivion. I'm taking over. I'm offering them a choice. Complete annihilation or surrender. Mark is on his feet now, his whole body trembling with a rage, so profound it seems to vibrate. He points a shaking finger at me. She's bluffing. She can't start a new company. Who would follow her? And this is the final, beautiful, devastating move. The checkmate I have been planning in the dark for weeks. Oh, I won't be starting from scratch, I say, a small, sad smile touching my lips. As of this morning, our three largest clients, Fleming Corp., North Star Logistics, and Apex Financial, who collectively represent over 60% of this company's annual revenue, have all signed letters of intent to move their business to my new venture. Complete, utter, soul-shattering silence. The board members are staring at me, their faces a mixture of awe and terror. They are not looking at the CEO's hysterical wife. They are looking at the most powerful person in the room. They're looking at their new boss. Mark looks like he's been shot. The color drains from his face. His eyes, wide with disbelief, dart around the room, searching for an ally, for someone to deny what he's just heard. He finds no one. Every single person is looking at me. He turns to Amelia, his last hope, his partner in crime. But she is just staring at the table, her face ashen, her brief reign as queen of the castle over before it even truly began. And then it happens. Mark stumbles backward. His hand goes to his chest. He makes a strange, guttural sound, a gasp for air that isn't there. His legs give way, and he collapses to the floor, a dead weight of expensive tailoring and shattered ego. Someone screams. People are rushing to his side, shouting his name. But I don't move. I just stand there, at the head of the table that is now mine, and I watch the man who tried to destroy me lie broken on the floor. I feel nothing. Not triumph. Not pity. Not even satisfaction. Just a vast, hollow emptiness. The war is over. I have won. But dear God, look at the cost. The aftermath is a strange, surreal blur. Paramedics arrive, a flurry of efficient, impersonal motion. They work on Mark, their voices a low, professional murmur. I watch, detached, as if viewing a scene from a movie. The board members are in a state of shock, huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. No one looks at me. It's as if I've become something they are afraid of. Eleanor, my lawyer, arrives and handles everything. She speaks to the board, to the paramedics, her voice a calm, authoritative presence in the chaos. Mark is taken to the hospital. It was a severe panic attack, not a heart attack, but the collapse was real. The physical manifestation of a life imploding. The board meeting is adjourned. But everyone knows the outcome. The vote, when it happens tomorrow, will be a formality. They will accept my terms. They have no other choice. I don't stay. I walk out of the conference room, through the silent, watching office and back into the elevator. As the doors close, I catch my reflection in the polished steel. My face is pale, my eyes wide. I look like a stranger to myself. The days that follow are a whirlwind of legal proceedings and corporate maneuvering. The transition is swift and brutal. Mark resigns, citing health reasons. Amelia is quietly terminated. I am voted in as the new CEO of Innovate Dynamics. The company I co-founded is finally, unequivocally mine. I don't feel the rush of victory I expected. Instead, there's a profound sense of exhaustion, a bone-deep weariness. I walk through the executive suite, Mark's old office, now my own. His personal effects have been packed away in a sad little cardboard box. All that's left is the ghost of his presence, the faint scent of his cologne. I sit in his chair, the big leather throne he loved so much. It just feels like a chair. The panoramic view of the city he was so proud of just looks like a collection of buildings. I got the company. I got the clients. I won. But I am sitting here, alone, in an empty office, in an empty life. The house is sold. We divide the assets through our lawyers. We never speak directly again. I hear through the grapevine that he and Amelia moved to a smaller city, that he's trying to start a new consulting firm. I don't know if it's true. I find that I don't care.
My focus is on rebuilding.
Not just the company, but myself. The first few months are hard. I have to earn the trust of the employees, heal the toxic culture Mark and Amelia created. I promote the people who were overlooked, the quiet, competent ones who kept their heads down and did the work. I am transparent, I am fair, and slowly, the atmosphere in the office begins to change. The fear dissipates, replaced by a cautious optimism. We launched the new platform, the one I designed. It's a massive success. The company's profits soar. The board members who once looked at me with terror now look at me with a grudging respect. I am good at this. I was always good at this. I just needed to be given the chance. I find a new place to live, a small, light-filled apartment downtown that is all my own. I fill it not with expensive art and designer furniture, but with books and plants and things that make me feel calm. I learn to enjoy the silence. I learn to be alone. There is a bittersweetness to it all. I look back at the woman I was, the one who believed in fairy tales, and I feel a sense of loss for her innocence. She was naive, but she was also full of a love and trust that I don't know if I'll ever feel again. The scars of this battle will always be with me. But they are not just scars of pain. They are scars of survival. They are a reminder that I was forged in fire, and I did not burn. One evening, I'm working late, looking over the quarterly reports. The numbers are better than I could have ever dreamed. The company is thriving. My company. I lean back in my chair and look out at the city lights twinkling below. And for the first time in a very long time, I feel a flicker of something that isn't emptiness or anger or sadness. It's a quiet, gentle feeling. It feels like peace. He told me to accept the affair. He told me to be pragmatic. He gave me a choice, his terms or nothing. He never considered that I would choose a third option. I chose myself. This whole journey, from the garage to the boardroom, has taught me more than I ever wanted to know about betrayal, but also about resilience. It taught me that sometimes the only way to get your life back is to be willing to burn the old one to the ground. If this story hit close to home, if you've ever had to fight for what was yours, I'd love to hear your version in the comments. Thanks for being here. Subscribing helps bring more of these to life.